So I've done this story. I know you're sincerely concerned about this, and I appreciate that. And I've done the story a million times, and it's always the same answer, which is we need better gun control in the city of Chicago because we have Indiana right next door. And I always think, well, you know, I live in D.C., which has a much lower murder rate than Chicago. I live like 800 yards from Virginia, which has lax gun laws. Why is Chicago different?
Well, I mean, it's different for a lot of different reasons. And, you know, obviously guns are part of the problem, but it isn't the only problem. You have a community and beset by unemployment, by lack of opportunities. And by the way, most of the homicides and violence are affected in African-American communities, some Hispanics, but blacks are really impacted by the gun violence. When you have had this investment and you cut schools, and you cut school funding, and for decades, by the way, the areas of the South Side and the West Sides have been left with neglect. Jobs have left. All the manufacturing jobs that were there decades ago are long gone. Nothing has replaced that. You add that to the mix of everything happening in the city of Chicago, and along with cases, obviously, of police brutality, allegations of.
Wait, but I wonder, okay, I mean, look, I'm not discounting any of that. You know, most of what you said is real, except the school funding thing, which is silly. But the rest of it is real. There is a job crisis there, but there's a job crisis in a lot of parts of the country, de-industrial parts of the country that don't have the same murder rate. Maine or Appalachia, lots of places that have similar problems but don't have the murder rate that you guys have. Why does nobody ever mention? Why does nobody ever mention the fact that the majority of kids in Chicago don't have a father at home? Do you think that's a part of it?
Well, that's part of it. If you have a lack of job opportunities, if you have lack of you know, infrastructure where you live.
The family part of it. I know the job stuff.
Yeah, it is. It is.
But why does nobody ever mention that? Why are politicians so afraid?
We mention it. We acknowledge it.
No, you don't. No, you never do. That's not true.
Yeah, there's a lot of programs here in place in this city.
I'm not talking about programs. I'm not talking about programs.
Become a father.
Look, you know the truth, and I know you're smart. I'm not patronizing you, but I'm being sincere. If you don't have a dad at home, you can grow up to be a great person, but and most do. But it's a lot harder, and you're much more likely to have violence in your neighborhood if nobody has a dad. Well, why does nobody have the courage to say that?
Let's talk about the numbers. Let's talk about the numbers.
Yeah.
So, here, let's talk about the numbers. So, in Illinois, you have approximately 49,000 prison inmates. 65% of those prison inmates happen to be African American. Right. Now, as a percentage of the population in Illinois, they're only 14% of the population. So, you know, what's going on? Why is so many African Americans incarcerated? Not to mention, not just African Americans, Hispanics as well, but those statistics tell you if they're not, if obviously they're in prison, they can be at home providing for their families, right? So you're saying those statistics, yes, of course, you're going to see a big gap in that. It's a social problem that we have. So I need you to understand that, because we're asking, why isn't the father home?
Social problems are complex, as you know, and I don't want to reduce it just to one factor, because that's not fair. But that's a huge factor. The family that you grow up in shapes a lot of who you are. And it did for you, it did for me. And if you have a community where, like, nobody in the neighborhood is a dad at home, maybe that's a massive part of it. And politicians, particularly on the left, are so afraid to say that out loud because it sounds mean, or because they're courting single women as a voting bloc, which you are, I know. Why don't they get over their political fear and tell the truth about that?
You want to solve the problem, don't you? I mean, no,